Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Robertson, and today I'm bringing you a very special video as this week we celebrate the 10th anniversary of the very first episode of Space Engineers Into the Unknown. That's right folks, it's been 10 years already, can you believe it? Now, I know some of you are probably saying, but Captain, the prologue was released on October the 30th, 2015, which is indeed correct. But to be honest, we actually spent most of that episode trying to get everything to work and give the viewers a quick intro to the series. The actual first episode, where it all kicks off, and we board that demonically possessed starship over there, was only released on November the 9th of 2015. Now, John and I had intended to make it just 1 or 2 episodes long, and it was originally meant for Halloween that year, but unfortunately we just didn't realise how long it was going to take us to record it, and we ended up running out of time, and of course having to put it off for about a week, which, funnily enough, turned out to be for the best, because once we saw how popular both the prologue and episode 1 was, we both decided to turn what was originally just going to be a 2-episode Halloween special where I more or less die at the end, into a proper Let's Play, where I go over all the basics of space engineers, including mining the resources, refining them into materials, and surviving on an asteroid base until I was eventually rescued. Well, as most of you already know, it didn't end there, as shortly after we released the episode featuring the dreaded space pirate Captain Varus, and we realised just how many people were enjoying the series, almost as much as we were having a blast creating it, we decided to go ahead and record a second season of Into the Unknown featuring the new planets that were just added into the game. This pretty much cemented the popularity of the series and prompted us to do a 3rd season. Luckily, I had an entire story arc already written out shortly after season 1, so most of the hard work was playing the game because yes, everything was indeed done in survival, as well as editing all of the content afterwards. I can safely say that seasons 2 and 3 were definitely my favourite, even though they were harder to work on, especially season 3. As not only was it a little more ambitious in terms of scope, but unfortunately it was recorded during that period of time where Keen Software House, the developers of Space Engineers, kinda took their eyes off the ball, so to speak. As we were plagued with a whole slew of bugs and glitches that took well over 6 months and sometimes even a whole year before they were fixed, which unfortunately caused us to pause production for a bit whilst we tried to work around them, and in some cases even include the bugs into an episode whilst trying to give a plausible in-universe explanation for them. Sadly, another issue that we had during season 3 was poor old John's health. Yeah, I know that makes him sound like an old man, but in reality he wasn't. In fact, he was 6 years younger than me. What I mean is that he'd been battling against what was essentially terminal cancer for years, and it was reaching the point where it really was taking its toll on him, and he was struggling to meet up for our usual gaming sessions, which was often only an hour or 2 every couple of weeks, again depending on his busy schedule. And near the end, he did quite rightly make it known that he was going to prioritise his own work, including his game reviews, the co-optional podcast, and spend time with his family, so it came as no surprise when, shortly afterwards, that he announced that he was taking a step back from almost all his online activities. Which, to be perfectly blunt, was definitely the best idea, because I'll never forget how tired and how different his voice sounded, especially near the end. And I do have to admit, there were a couple of times when I did kind of feel bad that he was taking time out to help me with Into the Unknown. More so as that was time that was taken away from his other responsibilities and, more importantly, his family. But as my old colleague Eddie used to say, it is what it is, man. And at the end of the day, I'm sure he knew that... What the... You will never leave us. Yeah, I think I will. I mustn't forget that I'm on a cursed starship. Anyway, sorry, as I was saying, sadly, as most of you already know, and the rest of you may have guessed, tragically John passed away halfway through season 3 of Into the Unknown. And not only had I lost an old friend, but I didn't appreciate until then just how much having another colleague helping me organise things during a gameplay session takes the workload off of your own shoulders, so it came as quite a blow. But I persevered, as finishing our story was something that I knew that both of us would have wanted, and finish it I did. And to this day, Into the Unknown remains one of my most successful YouTube series, despite its ropey and very humble beginnings. And I can safely say that I'm having much more fun now than I ever did with my old Baraban gaming channel. Yeah, this spacecraft does not sound healthy. Apologies folks, I should have said earlier, to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Into the Unknown, I thought I'd come back to revisit the haunted starship that started it all, the Event Horizon. This time by the content creator named Unreal. And because it's a more recent creation than the one used in 2015, it is unsurprisingly significantly more detailed. But no less evil, of course. I'd also like to take this opportunity to answer the questions I've been getting in my comment section regarding my current Space Engineers series, as well as my thoughts on Space Engineers 2. Now, regarding Space Engineers Return to Earth, I can confirm that it is indeed still being worked on, and as I've said to Travis Orrick recently, it's currently sitting on my hard drive and is about 80% done. Unfortunately, and I do humbly apologise for this, the reason for the insane amount of delays in getting it out to you guys is due to a combination of factors. The first is just getting the free time to work on it. As I've said many times before, I work 2 jobs, and I release YouTube videos as a hobby. My day job is a 9 to 5, so it frees up time in the evening, but recently my evening job is eating into that free time a lot more than it used to as well. Now, for reasons of security and confidentiality, I can't go into any more detail, but what I can say is that given the situation in the world right now, I found that my workload has basically doubled over the last 2.5 years, and to make matters worse, we're short-staffed. And I'm not talking about hiring Warwick Davis either. Secondly, what little free time I have has been prioritised to updating and maintaining my workshop creations, including 2 very popular add-ons I released last year for Stormworks Build and Rescue. One of which has 20,000 subscribers and the other has 30,000, so basically 10 times more than I have subscribed to this channel. But the difference is, if a video is late in being uploaded or just stops working, it doesn't really stop you from watching any of the other videos. Now, I know that sounds obvious, but...
The darkness. It is coming for me.
What the hell? That's Dr. Takahashi.
It is coming for you too, Commander.
Ha, I wasn't born yesterday. That phantom is obviously trying to lead me down there to my doom. Anyway, as I was saying, if a mod or add-on breaks due to a recent patch, then in a lot of cases it can result in breaking someone's current playthrough, or at the very least they have to stop using the mod completely until it's fixed. So obviously my focus needs to be on that first before any YouTube videos, and that can take hours, sometimes even days. Anyhow, the third reason for the delay is I've had to delete, rewrite and re-record some of the latest episode due to a dispute I've had with a trio of voice actors who have essentially been messing me around for the best part of a year and have even tried to blackmail me. Yeah, I'm getting distracted by the gravity drive. The damn thing never ceases to both impress and creep me out at the same time. Anyway, thankfully, the parts that the voice actors had have all been recast, and I'll probably resort to using an AI voice changer where that's not possible. But rest assured that the next episode of Space Engineers Return to Earth has not been forgotten and will be with you all eventually. Ha, I see you, Ghost Takahashi.
Your eyes, Commander. We will not need them where we are going.
What? Well, that can't be good.
Gateway opening in 2 minutes.
Now that's definitely not good, and it's my cue to get the hell out of here. Grief, not again. This is all too familiar. Almost there. Well, now that we're a little safer, although I really need to put some distance between us and the event horizon, my thoughts on Space Engineers 2 is that whilst it certainly does look impressive from a technical standpoint, I'm going to hold off on buying it until it offers me something substantially more than what I already have with Space Engineers 1. As I said in my previous channel update video, ideally I'd like to see more of a gameplay loop accompanying the sandbox building side of the game. You know, things like some decent side missions and a potential overall goal in the survival mode side of things. If Keen Software House can do a better job at that than they've done with the piss poor economy and warfare updates and DLC, then I'll certainly give it a shot. Otherwise, like many of my other colleagues, including Morphologist and Captain Shack, I'll continue to look elsewhere. Whether or not I'll do another YouTube series on it is still too early to say at this stage. Yeah, there we are. It looks like we got away safely. Well folks, it looks like we're almost at the end of today's video. I hope you all enjoyed this little trip down memory lane, but if you've got any more questions regarding this series or anything else on the channel for that matter, then please don't hesitate to post it in the comment section below and I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. Yeah, can you imagine how different the story would have been if the Icarus had a jump drive back in Series 1? Oh well, what can you do? The answer to that is the best we can. Anyway, I'd once again like to close by thanking all of my incredible subscribers, followers and viewers out there for all of your amazing support over the last 10 years. It really does mean a lot to me, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you again in the next video. Until then, this is Captain Robertson, signing off.